I discovered my fiancé had a separate wedding registry under a different name with another woman for the same date. When I called the venue, they said Mr. Johnson reserved 2 time slots, 12 p.m. and 5 p.m. I showed up to the morning ceremony, walked down the aisle, and handed her my invitation. His best man threw up. His mom attacked me in the parking lot. I handed my wedding invitation to the woman wearing my dress at my fiancé's other wedding. 3 weeks ago I was ordering thank you cards online when I accidentally clicked on my fiancé's email instead of mine. We share a laptop and I'm usually logged into my account, but whatever. The first email I saw was a confirmation from a bridal registry. At David's Bridal. Under the name Sarah and Michael Johnson. My fiancé's last name is Johnson. Mine isn't. We weren't registered at David's Bridal. I sat there for maybe 10 minutes just staring at it. Then I opened it. There was a whole registry. Kitchen stuff, bedding, a fucking KitchenAid mixer in red. I picked sage green for hours. The wedding date was June 15th. Our wedding date was June 15th. I checked our actual registry. Still there. Still under my name and his. Still the sage green mixer. I went back to his email and searched wedding and found confirmations for a venue, a photographer, a cake. Different vendors than the ones we'd booked. Same date. The venue confirmation had 2 time slots. 12:00 p.m. ceremony for Sarah and Michael and 5:00 p.m. ceremony for Michael and my name. He was marrying someone else 5 hours before me. I called the venue pretending to be his assistant confirming details. The woman on the phone was so nice. She said Mr. Johnson had been very specific about keeping the 2 events separate. Different entrances. Different staff. She thought it was weird but figured it was a divorce situation with 2 families or something. I didn't confront him. I know that sounds stupid, but I needed to see it. I needed to watch him actually do it. The morning of June 15th I told him I was going to my hair appointment. I got in my car and drove to the venue. I was wearing jeans and a t-shirt. I walked in through the side entrance the venue lady had mentioned, and there were maybe 30 people sitting in chairs. Lots of his family. His mom was in the front row wearing a purple dress. She wore navy to our wedding, or I guess to what was supposed to be our wedding. The woman, Sarah, was in the bridal suite. I could see her through the window. Long brown hair, really tan, my age maybe. She was wearing a white dress with lace sleeves. It looked like the one I tried on and decided was too formal. The music started. She walked out holding her dad's arm. Everyone stood up. My fiancé was at the altar in his tux. The same tux. I watched her walk halfway down the aisle and then I stepped out from the hallway. I walked right up next to her. She stopped. Her dad stopped. Everyone was staring. I pulled the invitation from my purse. The one with both our names and the venue address and 5:00 p.m. printed on it. I handed it to her. He's got another ceremony here at 5, I said. With me. I'm his other fiancé. She looked at the invitation. Looked at my fiancé. Looked back at me. Her face went completely white. My fiancé said, "Babe, I can explain. I don't know which one of us he was talking to." Sarah dropped her bouquet. Her dad said, "What the fuck is this?" His best man, his brother, literally turned and threw up into the flower arrangement. His mom screamed, "You ruined this," and I thought she meant at him, but she ran at me. Like full on ran at me. I turned and headed for the door and she followed me out to the parking lot screaming that I was a psycho and I'd planned this to humiliate her son. She grabbed my arm and I pulled away and she fell. Not hard. But she fell on the asphalt and scraped her hands and started crying. Someone called the cops. I was sitting in my car when they showed up. His mom was still on the ground even though like 4 people were trying to help her up. She kept screaming that I'd attacked her. The cops separated us and took statements. I showed them the invitation. Showed them my email confirmations for the 5:00 p.m. slot. Showed them his email with Sarah's registry. One of the cops actually laughed. Not like a mean laugh but like a holy shit laugh. They told his mom that I hadn't attacked her and if anyone was getting arrested it would be her for assault when she grabbed me. My fiancé came out to the parking lot. Sarah was with him. She was crying. He tried to say he'd been confused and made mistakes and it spiraled out of control. Sarah hit him. Just walked up and slapped him across the face in front of the cops and his family and everyone. I left. Drove home. Cancelled everything for the 5:00 ceremony and spent the next week returning gifts and calling vendors. He's texted me maybe 200 times. His family is blowing up my phone saying I should have handled it privately. His brother's wife sent me a message saying I traumatized his mom and now she's in therapy. Sarah apparently broke up with him immediately and her dad threatened him. But my family thinks I went too far. My sister said I could have just called off the wedding instead of making a scene. My mom said what he did was horrible but what I did was cruel. I don't know. I feel like he was literally going to marry 2 people in one day. But maybe showing up like that was too much. Am I a butthole? The other woman contacted me. I've been staying at my best friend's place since everything happened. Blocked my ex on everything. Blocked his family. I thought I was done with all of it, but then I got a Facebook message request from her 3 days ago. The one he was going to marry at noon. She said we needed to talk. Said she had information I deserved to know. I almost didn't respond, but honestly I was curious. We met at a coffee shop yesterday. She looked different without the wedding dress. Tired. She had her hair in a ponytail and no makeup, and she looked like she'd been crying for weeks. She probably had been. First thing she said was, "I didn't know about you. I need you to believe that." I told her I did. I mean, how could she have known? He'd kept us completely separate. Turns out they'd been together for 2 years. 2 years. He told her he traveled for work, same thing he told me. She lived about 40 minutes away in the next city over. Different gym, different grocery stores, different everything. He had it planned down to the minute. She showed me texts. Photos. There were pictures of them at restaurants I'd never been to. A weekend trip to the mountains that he told me was a work conference. She had a whole relationship with him that existed right alongside mine. But here's the part that made me actually feel sick. She was pregnant. 8 weeks. She found out a week before the wedding. She hadn't told him yet because she wanted to surprise him on their honeymoon. She had this whole plan to tell him on the beach with little baby shoes she'd bought. When I handed her that invitation and everything fell apart, she was planning to marry him and tell him about their baby the next week. She had a miscarriage 4 days after the wedding. That wasn't. The stress, the shock, everything. She started bleeding and went to the ER alone because he wouldn't answer her calls. The doctor said it was probably going to happen anyway, sometimes it just does, but she blames him. She blames me too, I think, even though she says she doesn't. I didn't know what to say. I just sat there while she cried in this coffee shop and people stared at us. Then she told me the worst part. He'd been planning to keep both of us. She found emails after everything happened. He'd been looking into buying a second phone. Had researched how to maintain 2 separate families. There were tabs open on his computer about men who'd done it successfully for years. He was genuinely going to try. My ex had been setting up a whole double life. 2 wives, 2 families eventually, 2 completely separate existences. And he thought he could pull it off. She asked if I knew why he did it. Like I would have some answer. I didn't. I still don't. We sat there for almost 2 hours and neither of us could figure out what was going through his head. His family has been harassing her too. His mom called her a whore. Said she seduced him and trapped him. Never mind that he proposed to her, planned a whole wedding, was actively living a double life. It's somehow her fault. My ex has tried to contact both of us. He sent her a long email about how he loved us both and couldn't choose and made terrible decisions, but his heart was pure. She forwarded it to me. It was the most insane thing I've ever read. He actually wrote, "My heart was big enough for both of you," like that was romantic and not completely deranged. She's filing a lawsuit. Not sure exactly for what, I think emotional distress or fraud or something. Her dad's a lawyer and he's furious. He wants to destroy my ex in court. My family is still mad at me. My mom called yesterday and said I should apologize to his mom for the parking lot incident. I hung up on her. My sister keeps texting that I'm being unreasonable and need to take the high road. I blocked her too. The only person who gets it is my best friend. She's been letting me sleep on her couch and eat her food and cry whenever I need to. She said what I did was perfect. That he deserved to be humiliated exactly the way he humiliated us. I go between feeling vindicated and feeling horrible. The other woman lost a baby. My ex's mom is apparently having panic attacks. His brother's wife told someone at my gym that I'm unhinged and dangerous. There are actual consequences happening. But then I remember he was going to marry both of us on the same day. He was going to stand at an altar twice in 5 hours and say vows to 2 different women. He was planning a whole future of lying every single day. The other woman and I have been texting. It's weird. We're not friends, but we're the only 2 people who understand what happened. She sent me a screenshot last night of another email he sent her. He's begging to meet up and talk. Says he's in therapy now and realizing things about himself. She hasn't responded and doesn't plan to. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with any of this. Everyone keeps saying I need to move on, but how do you move on from finding out your entire relationship was a lie? That you were plan A or plan B and it didn't even matter which because he wanted both? Part of me feels bad about everything that's happened since. But most of me just feels angry. Is that wrong? His mom showed up at my work. I'm back at my apartment now. Couldn't stay at my friend's place forever. Figured enough time had passed that maybe things would calm down. I was wrong. Yesterday I was at the front desk, normal Tuesday afternoon, when she walked through the door. I work at a dental office so we get walk-ins sometimes, but the second I saw her face I knew this wasn't about a toothache. She walked right up to the desk and said, "You need to fix this." My coworker looked at me. I told her I'd handle it and took his mom to the waiting room. Nobody else was there, thank God. She started crying immediately. Not the angry crying from the parking lot. Real crying. She said her son has been staying in her basement for 3 weeks. Won't eat. Won't shower. Just lays there. She said I destroyed him and I needed to talk to him and work it out because this was fixable if I would just listen. I told her there was nothing to fix. He was going to marry 2 people on the same day. He'd been living a double life for 2 years. She said everyone makes mistakes. That he got overwhelmed and made bad choices, but he loved me and we could get past this. She actually said plenty of couples recover from worse. I asked her what could possibly be worse than planning 2 weddings on the same day. She didn't have an answer for that. Just kept saying he was her son and he was suffering and couldn't I find it in my heart to forgive him. Then she said the other woman was lying about the pregnancy. That she was trying to trap him and probably made the whole thing up for sympathy. I told her the other woman had no reason to lie to me. We weren't friends. We were both just people he lied to. His mom said I was being cruel and cold. That I'd humiliated her entire family and now I wouldn't even give her son a chance to apologize properly. She said the least I could do was meet with him once. I said no. She grabbed my hand across the desk. Not aggressive like the parking lot but desperate. She said, please. He's my baby. I'm begging you. My boss came out right then. She'd been listening from the back. She told his mom she needed to leave or she'd call the police. His mom started yelling that I was ruining her family and I was vindictive and I'd planned the whole thing to hurt them. Security walked her out. She was screaming the whole way. My boss sent me home early. Said I should take tomorrow off too if I needed it. I've been sitting here since 4 yesterday afternoon just staring at my phone. The other woman texted me right after it happened. Said his mom showed up at her apartment the night before. Did the same thing. Cried and begged and said we were both being unreasonable. Told her the pregnancy was probably a false positive and she was using it to hurt him. She told his mom to get out or she'd file harassment charges. Her dad is already building a case and apparently his mom showing up helped because now there's a pattern. I don't feel bad about any of it anymore. I thought maybe I would. Thought maybe seeing his mom break down like that would make me regret the wedding thing. It didn't. She raised him. She taught him how to treat people. And now she's mad that he got caught instead of mad that he did it in the first place. My ex texted me from a new number last night. Long message about how sorry he is and how he knows he messed up but he's getting help now. Seeing a therapist. Working on himself. He said he understands if I never want to see him again but he needed me to know he never meant to hurt anyone. I blocked the number. This morning his brother called me. I don't know how he got my number. He said I needed to let this go because their mom is having a breakdown and it's affecting the whole family. His kids are asking why grandma cries all the time. His wife is stressed. Everyone is walking on eggshells. I told him that wasn't my problem. He said I was being selfish. That I got my revenge at the wedding and now I needed to move on and stop making everything worse. He said his brother made a mistake but everyone's acting like he killed someone. I hung up. My own family isn't much better. My mom called again. Said his mom contacted her and they had a long talk. Said his mom is just a mother trying to protect her child and don't I understand that? Don't I have any compassion? I asked my mom if she'd have compassion for me if I'd been the one planning 2 weddings. She said that was different. I asked how. She couldn't answer. Just said I was being difficult and she was disappointed in how I was handling this. That I was letting anger control me and it wasn't healthy. My sister sent a text today saying I should consider talking to him just once. Just to hear him out. That holding on to anger was only hurting me. I'm not angry anymore though. That's the weird part. I'm just tired. The other woman and I are meeting for coffee again this weekend. She asked if I wanted to go with her to talk to her lawyer about the harassment from his family. I said yes. I keep thinking about what his mom said. That he's in her basement not eating or showering. Part of me, a really small part, feels something about that. Not guilt exactly. Just awareness that there's a person suffering. But then I remember he was researching how to maintain 2 families long term. He wasn't confused or overwhelmed. He was planning. Is it wrong that I don't care if he's suffering? He's been telling people I cheated on him. Found out 2 days ago when an old college friend messaged me asking if I was okay. She'd heard from someone who heard from someone else that my ex and I broke up because I'd been having an affair and he caught me. She wanted to check in because she knew how hard breakups were. I sat there reading her message 3 times before it clicked what was happening. I called the other woman immediately. Asked if anyone had contacted her with similar stories. She said yes. 2 people from her work had pulled her aside in the last week asking about her split from her fiancé. Both mentioned hearing something about infidelity on her part. He's rewriting the whole thing. Making himself the victim. I started asking around carefully. My gym friend said she'd heard through someone in her book club that I'd been seeing someone behind my ex's back and it all came out right before the wedding. My coworker's sister somehow knew a version where I'd been planning to leave him at the altar as revenge for some argument we'd had. None of it's true. Obviously. But he's out there spinning it and people are believing him because why wouldn't they? Who lies about something like that? The other woman and I met up yesterday. Her lawyer was supposed to be there but canceled last minute, so it was just us at her apartment. She looks worse every time I see her. Thinner. Dark circles. She said she's not sleeping. We went through our phones together and found at least 8 people between us who'd heard some version of his story. Different details but the same theme. We were the cheaters. We were unstable. We'd humiliated him publicly for no reason. Her hands were shaking when she showed me a text from one of his cousins. It said she needed to stop spreading lies about him and that everyone knew what she'd really done. That she'd been sleeping with multiple men and tried to baby trap him with someone else's kid. I asked if she'd responded. She said no. What was the point? We decided to tell the truth. Put it all out there before his version became the only version people knew. She wanted to post everything on social media. The emails, the registry, the venue confirmation with 2 time slots. I said that felt too much like airing dirty laundry, but she said people were already talking, so we might as well control the narrative. I didn't post anything. Couldn't bring myself to do it. But she did. She put it all on her account last night. Long post explaining everything. Screenshots of his emails about maintaining 2 families. Photos of both registries side by side with the same wedding date. The venue confirmation showing both ceremonies booked under his name. It went everywhere. Her post got shared maybe 200 times in the first few hours. People were tagging him. Commenting. Calling him every name you can think of. Some of his family members were in the comments trying to defend him or say the screenshots were fake. Nobody was buying it. My phone started blowing up around midnight. Friends I haven't talked to in years asking if it was true. My mom called screaming that I'd made everything worse by letting the other woman post that. My sister sent a long text about how this was cruel and unnecessary and I was stooping to his level. I didn't let her post it. She did it herself. But nobody cares about that distinction. His mom called me at 2 in the morning. I don't know how she got my new number. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. Said people were driving by their house. That someone egged their car. That his brother's kids were getting bullied at school because everyone knew now. I hung up. This morning my boss pulled me aside. Said she'd seen the post making rounds on local pages and wanted to make sure I was okay. She asked if I needed time off. I said no. She said the offer stands if things get worse. The other woman texted me an hour ago. Someone spray-painted cheater on his mom's garage door. She doesn't know if it was about him or about us since his lies are still circulating in some circles. Her lawyer is telling her to document everything in case he tries to sue for defamation. Can you sue someone for telling the truth? My apartment complex called. Said they'd had complaints about someone hanging around my building the last few nights. They couldn't tell me who, but they'd increased security. I'm scared it's him. Or his mom. Or someone from his family who thinks I deserve whatever's coming. I called my best friend crying. She came over with wine and stayed until I fell asleep on the couch. When I woke up this morning there were 17 missed calls from numbers I don't recognize. The other woman wants to do an interview. Local news station reached out to her after seeing the post. They want to do a story about men who live double lives. She asked if I'd do it with her. Tell our side on camera. I don't know if that's healing or just more revenge dressed up as justice. My hands won't stop shaking. I can't eat. Every time my phone buzzes I panic thinking it's him or his family or someone who believes his version. The other woman keeps texting asking if I'm okay and I don't know how to tell her that nothing feels okay anymore. This was supposed to be over after the wedding. Supposed to end when I walked out of that parking lot. But it keeps going and I don't know how to make it stop. I did the interview. The other woman and I sat across from a reporter in a studio downtown and told the whole story on camera. She cried through most of it. I didn't. I think I've run out of tears at this point. It aired 3 days ago. Local news picked it up, then a few regional outlets, then it spread online. We're not viral or anything, but enough people saw it that my life has essentially imploded for the second time in 2 months. My ex's family is threatening to sue. His mom sent a cease and desist letter through a lawyer. It said we were defaming him and causing emotional distress to his family. The other woman's dad, the lawyer, laughed when he read it. Said they had no case. Truth is an absolute defense and we had the receipts. His brother showed up at my apartment 4 days ago. Building security stopped him in the lobby, but I could hear him yelling from my floor. He was screaming that we'd ruined his brother's life. That he'd lost his job because someone sent the interview to his boss. That their mom was on anxiety medication now because of us. Security called the police. His brother left before they arrived, but they filed a report anyway. I have a copy in my desk drawer. My ex tried to kill himself 2 weeks ago. His mom called me from the hospital at 6 in the morning. I was barely awake when she told me he'd taken pills. That they pumped his stomach. That this was my fault. I hung up and turned my phone off for 3 days. He's fine. Physically. I found out later through someone who knew someone that he'd called his mom right after taking the pills. That it was more a cry for help than a real attempt. I don't know if that makes it better or worse. The other woman had a panic attack when she heard. We were at a coffee shop when someone she knew mentioned it. She started hyperventilating right there at the table. I drove her home and sat with her while she called her therapist. She asked me if we'd gone too far. If maybe we should have just walked away and let him live with what he'd done privately. I didn't have an answer. My mom stopped speaking to me after the interview aired. She sent one text that said, "I'm ashamed of you." My sister calls every few days to check in, but even she sounds tired of the whole thing. She keeps saying I need to move on. I got a new job. Different dental office across town. My old boss was supportive, but patients were starting to recognize me and it was getting weird. I start Monday. The other woman is moving. Her dad found her a place 2 hours away. Fresh start, new city, away from everyone who knows the story. She asked if I wanted to stay in touch. I said yes, but I don't know if we actually will. We're tied together by the worst thing that ever happened to both of us. That's not really friendship. His best man, the brother who threw up at the almost wedding, reached out to me last week. He said he was sorry. That he'd had no idea what his brother was doing. That if he'd known he would have stopped it. I believe him, but it doesn't change anything. I see my ex sometimes. Not on purpose. We live in the same city. 2 weeks ago I was at the grocery store and he was in the cereal aisle. He looked terrible. Thin, unshaven, hollow eyes. We made eye contact for maybe 3 seconds and then I turned around and left my cart right there in the middle of the store. I sat in my car and cried for 20 minutes. I don't miss him. I need to be clear about that. I don't want him back. I don't forgive him. But seeing him like that, seeing what all of this has done to him, made me feel something I wasn't expecting. Not guilt exactly. Just sadness that any of this happened at all. The other woman's lawsuit is moving forward. Her dad is going after him for fraud and emotional distress. She'll probably win. He doesn't have money for a good lawyer and his family has cut him off financially after everything that came out. His mom left a voicemail last week. She was sober this time. Calm. She said she understood why I did what I did. That she'd had time to think and realized her son had lied to everyone, including her. She said she was sorry for the parking lot, for showing up at my work, for everything. She said she hoped I could find peace. I saved the voicemail, but I haven't called her back. People still recognize me sometimes. I was at Target yesterday and a woman stopped me in the clothing section. She said she'd seen the interview. Said she'd been through something similar and it helped to hear our story. She hugged me right there between the clearance racks. I didn't know what to say, so I just said thank you. My best friend thinks I should write a book. She's joking but also not joking. She says people would want to hear the whole story from start to finish. I told her I just want to forget the whole thing ever happened. But I can't forget. Neither can the other woman. Neither can he. We're all just living with it now. Carrying it around. Trying to figure out how to be normal people after everything fell apart. I'm dating again. Nothing serious. Just coffee dates and walks in the park. It's strange trying to explain why I'm single. My fiancé was going to marry someone else 5 hours before our wedding isn't exactly first date conversation. Most guys don't get a second date once they know. I don't blame them. The other woman started a blog. She writes about betrayal and recovery and learning to trust again. She sent me the link. I read it sometimes when I can't sleep. Her writing is raw and honest and painful. She's braver than I am. I think about the wedding a lot. Walking down that aisle. Handing her the invitation. The look on his face. His brother throwing up. His mom chasing me to the parking lot. I think about whether I'd do it differently if I could go back. I wouldn't. He was going to marry 2 people on the same day. He was planning to maintain 2 separate families. He researched how to do it. He wanted both of us and thought he could have us without consequences. He was wrong. The consequences are everywhere now. His family is fractured. The other woman moved away. I changed jobs. He's alone and broke and probably will be for a long time. Everyone knows what he did. Sometimes I wonder if the punishment fits the crime. If public humiliation and destroyed relationships and a suicide attempt are proportional to planning 2 weddings. Then I remember he was never going to stop. He was never going to confess. He was going to marry both of us and keep lying every single day for the rest of his life. So no, I don't feel bad anymore. I feel tired. I feel ready to move on. But I don't feel bad. The other woman texted me this morning. Just 3 words, "We survived this." I guess we did.